All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar about building a brand that drives growth. My name is Sagan Medvec, and we'll get started here. As I mentioned, as for some of our newcomers here, if you have a question while we're going through this, please put it in chat, and I will respond as soon as possible, or if necessary, hold it to the end for Q&A. Perfect. So a little bit about DVIRC for those of you that are not familiar. DVIRC is an organization that helps support manufacturers in the Philadelphia region with tools and resources to help them improve their workforce, integrate new technology, commercialization, improve their supply chain, Lean Six Sigma. We also help with marketing and branding and websites and digital marketing, and that's pretty much where I come in on this. Really, our goal at DVIRC is to reimagine manufacturing's role in the area to try to help improve the economic prosperity of the Philadelphia region and in America overall, which is a nice big goal. And we are happy with the impact that we've had so far and are looking forward to continue helping manufacturers in the area. We also have our conference coming up on October 18th, Reimagine Manufacturing. We're giving out awards to manufacturers in the region for their innovation and their expertise and capabilities, and some lifetime achievement awards and a bunch of fun stuff there. There will be exhibitors and booths and plenty of good food, snacks, and treats, and some amazing speakers, including an opera singer who's going to do the national anthem. So if you can come by on October 18th, that would be great. Tickets are available at reimaginemanufacturing.com. Okay, so I am Sagan Medvec. I am the creative director and owner of Brand Llama. We're a boutique branding agency in the Philly area based out of Fishtown. I have personally 25 years experience of building brands, websites, digital marketing, usability, design, online advertising, and SEO. We've been a strategic partner of DVIRC's for the past 14 plus years. I was actually doing work with them before I even started my business 14 years ago. So it's been absolute joy working with manufacturers in the area, and DVIRC helps connect us to do that. In those 14 years, we've done 85 plus manufacturing related websites for businesses in the area, mostly focusing on small and mid-sized manufacturing, but we also dabble in healthcare and financial services. Our goal ultimately is to help you define your brand and generate qualified leads. We do that through design, content, website builds, technology, and overarching marketing strategy. Overall agenda today, we're going to talk about why branding matters for manufacturers in manufacturing in general, the steps to develop your brand identity, and how to leverage that into business growth, either through lead gen or digital marketing. And then if we have time, we'll do a QA. Otherwise, like I said, put questions in the chat and I'll get to them. Branding as a topic, I had a lot of trouble whittling down this presentation because there's a lot in it. I did not want to force you to drink from a fire hose because there's just so much information here. So I'm trying to pick and choose the best stuff to give you some actionable items to work against for building your brand. So we'll try to drink from a straw instead of a fire hose here. The big thing I need to tell you overall about branding is it's not just your logo. This is something that comes up all the time when people talk about branding and go, well, I have a logo. Okay, that's great. That's one portion of it. How you communicate the value of that logo and your business through it is really the bigger portion of all of this. So really the importance here, there's a bunch of different criteria. The ones I've highlighted in red, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, but I will give an overview of every bullet point in here as reasonably quickly as I can without trying to overload you too much. And I can share this presentation after the fact for anybody that wants some deeper information as well. So overall, branding is a tool for differentiation. There's a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of similar products and services out there. Your brand, a strong brand, can distinguish your company from your competitors. It also is a tool that can be used to level the playing field with other businesses that are bigger than yours, that are more dominant than yours. It puts you in a position to step away from being a commodity player once you start building a brand that is recognized and used well in marketing. So well-defined brand identity can help you stand out in the crowd by marketing and highlighting your unique strengths, your superior quality, speed of production, specialized capabilities, other aspects of your business that are maybe not so front and center, but are core to how your business is positioned and how you want to be perceived in the market. It's also a tool for building trust and credibility. A consistent, well-crafted communication structure and brand fosters trust with customers, suppliers, and partners. So we want to make sure we do that. That trust is essential in manufacturing, and in every instance I've seen it, particularly when long-term contracts come into play or partnerships come into play. The stronger your brand, the more it communicates that you are reliable, you have expertise, you're professional and trustworthy. A brand supports sales and marketing efforts. A strong brand can be amplified by your marketing efforts and make the company more recognizable, more memorable, and more impactful. Brand recognition helps sales teams by making it easier to build rapport with potential customers and to differentiate you from your competitors during the sales process. One aspect that gets skipped often in this is the value of a brand in attracting talent and bringing in skilled employees, recruiting for your executive level. A solid, strong brand can appeal to potential employees, as much as it can to customers and partners. In competitive industries, having a clear, compelling brand that reflects the company values can be a strong recruitment tactic. So we want to keep that in mind. It shows off your positive company culture and makes it more appealing for potential employees that are looking to engage with a reliable, trustworthy, well-known company that's going to give them a great job for a long time. So branding, it definitely has an impact from a recruitment perspective. And then positioning you for growth and expansion as well. A strong brand can facilitate business growth by attracting larger customers, expanding into new markets, entering into partnerships. Having a strong brand also benefits you from a mergers and acquisitions perspective. So if you're doing acquiring, your brand gets to take over the other brand. If you're being acquired, if you have a strong enough brand, they might adopt yours and carry it forward. So it has impacts in many aspects of business overall. Additionally, a strong brand helps manufacturers differentiate in the market through highlighting unique capabilities and specialization. So your logo can carry some of that information through. So a recognizable brand, this is where the logo does come into play, the color scheme, the design, all this can make a lasting impression with potential customers and help your company stand out in all your marketing materials and all of your marketing communications. Being consistent and professional with that reinforces your credibility. So you're going to hear that a lot. It's building trust, building credibility, lets people know you are who you say you are, and reinforces what makes your business special. So for example, a plastic molding company might differentiate their brand by focusing on the craftsmanship or their innovation, anything that sets them apart from the generic competitors out there or overseas competition. So having a unique logo that communicates this specialization can be very valuable. It also supports your reputation. So if you want to build a reputation that is around quality or reliability or other characteristics, the brand can do that for you and reinforce all of that. Differentiation doesn't always have to be about innovation as well. That's important to note. A lot of people lean on that right now. Everybody wants to be Apple. Everybody wants to be Tesla. That might not fit what your brand actually stands for or what you should be known for in your market. So while it's appealing to look at those other bigger companies for inspiration, it should be caveated and understood why it makes sense for your business. Leveraging brand storytelling is another way to stand out. Share your company's history, stories about how you've been successful or even had trouble with particular challenging projects. Anything that adds personality can be very helpful in your marketing materials to help you stand out and again, lift you above any sort of commodity service. If you can connect your company history, your founder's vision, or other values to the services that you provide or the products that you make, you can become more relatable and more memorable through that storytelling. But of course, there is, again, that part about the logo. So you do need to have a visual brand, a visual language that starts with a logo, color scheme, and design. Again, reinforcing that credibility. But you want to make sure that, again, that it fits who you are. So we're going to dive into a bit of that too, on how to position your company before you ever start the logo, because there's a handful of steps that need to be done before that to really position yourself in a meaningful way. And so another way that strong brands strong brands help position the company is in thought leadership. So a strong brand associated with white papers, webinars like this one, blog posts, any other resources that you give out to help educate potential customers will help put you in that trusted expert, trusted advisor position, which is really the sweet spot. That's when people start caring less about price and start caring more about execution capability and knowledge. Those are all great things. So sharing information around best practices, industry trends, your opinion on them, things like that, will help reinforce the brand as well. One example of this that we've done is GTM Artisan Metal. This is a brand that was built out of a machine shop. They wanted to add a new division to the company. They wanted to leverage their capability as a machine shop to generate higher value products and services that can be used by architecture and design firms, namely in decorative metal panels and signage. We worked with them to put together this division and brand it and put together marketing materials to support their efforts. And it's been a significant boom in business for them and has given them an entire new revenue stream to support the core foundation of the manufacturing of the metal shop side. We did an all-new website for them that focuses on that kind of higher level aesthetic that is speaking to the architecture and design community, showcasing past projects that have been successful and putting in a very clear, short message. This is what we do. We are forging memorable spaces. It's more than form, it's more than function. It is something really useful that can make your property or business stand out through these metal panels. So showing off applications of where these can be used, either in decorative or in functional spaces as like pergolas or temporary walls, things like that, all was essential in communicating within the website and leveraging the recognition of the brand. So the website's one big portion of that, but also social media posts have been a big part of that too, to reach architecture and design firms where they live. So making sure that the visuals represent our understanding of that market and the items that they care about. So using these quotes from famous designers coupled with the patterns from the business is the way we've done that. We also include social media posts of actual completed projects with the best photos we can get of them. It really, that's always challenging to get really great photography. But again, showing projects that have been completed in beautiful spaces definitely helps reinforce the brand, shows off what we can do, shows off the capabilities really well, and connects it all back together. So that's why we like this approach and where branding really has made a big difference for this organization. So from a how do we do it perspective, there's a bunch of steps here. There's 6 primarily. We're going to dive into 2 of them deeply. Mostly the first thing you need to do when creating your brand identity is not grab a whiteboard and start drawing out logos and picking typefaces. That's too early. That's step 3. We'll get there. But step 1 is you have to define your brand's purpose and core values. So before you do any of those visual things, you've got to stop for a minute and go, why are we even here? Now, money is usually the most common answer. Everybody wants to make a living. That's great. But that doesn't really answer the why your customers would work for you. If it's all about chasing lowest dollar amounts, then fine, you can do that, but it's not really going to support your branding all that well. You really want to take a moment to reflect on the principles that guide the business's decisions and actions. These are also known as, core value kind of things, taking a moment to really understand what do we stand for. In our process of branding, we have a questionnaire that helps guide people through this because it's very difficult to just go, well, what do we stand for, and ask that as a broad question. So we tend to navigate around it and ask questions like, if your company was going to hire a spokesperson, who would that be and why? Any person, living or dead, real or fictional. Who is the best spokesperson for your infomercial, essentially? That as a branding agency tells us a ton about the characteristics, personality, and style that the business would want to portray. So we ask questions that are a little bit roundabout because going, hey, tell us your core values, people just go, we're efficient, we're resourceful, it's all the same kind of stock answers that any company would give. So you want to try to dig a little bit deeper than that so that you can define a purpose that would make a difference and inform the branding in a way that resonates with potential customers. You also want to take some time to understand where you stand in the market. So understanding your target audience and where you want to be positioned. Are you a premium provider, cost-effective solution? Are you innovative? Where do you kind of want to live in this? And then you want to take a look at, well, who should we be going after? What kind of customers are we looking for? Is our current customer base even fitting with where we want to go? Or are we pivoting away from that to explore new opportunities? What's going on in the industry that is fueling where we go and what we do, and what competitors are out there that are, competing with us directly on this, or might compete with us if we expand into a new market. But understanding these is really important to help get your brand and business to resonate with your new target audience. A good example of that would be a contract manufacturer that serves a niche in aerospace. So you want to position your brand around core values that support precision, high standards, and use that to target customers that would value that specialization. So documenting these kinds of things before you dive into the logo is important, because they become a guidepost to measure logo options around, marketing messages around. Do we do this ad? Do we go to this trade show? Does it fit with who we are and where we're going and the types of customers that we're looking to serve? Very quickly, the brand identity becomes that guidepost. And of course, everybody's favorite part, step 3, developing the actual logo, the colors, what business cards look like, all these other materials. They're often the first thing people notice, so it's important to have a well-polished looking logo that fits the brand and direction of the company. When you create that logo and choose a color palette, that's going to help pass the brand's value and onto people and let them kind of see who you are initially. Messaging comes after that. So the visual part is the first thing we know gets their attention, but what are we backing that up with? What are we saying to them to help communicate the value that we bring, our expertise? How do we want to say it is just as important as what we say. So we want to make sure that you are clearly communicating your brand's story, purpose, and value in a way that works with the audience. Typically, we recommend starting with a mission statement or a tagline, some sort of short statement that gets the idea across as much as possible. That elevator pitch kind of thing. Stop for a moment and think about that and how we want to say it and the tone around it. So do we want professional but friendly? Do we want, very serious and technical? Where do we want to stand on that? Because that starts to inform headlines on advertising, how you design some of these secondary materials, like business cards and presentations and things like that. So tone of voice is something that's also typically overlooked when doing an internal branding project. So something to keep in mind. Step 5 is to implement your brand across all the channels. So this new brand, you want to make sure you're updating your LinkedIn company profile to use the new logo, update its messaging to support the brand messaging that you've crafted in the previous step, making sure that all of your touch points across your website, social media, email, product packaging, customer communications, thank you notes. This comes down to even how somebody answers the phone for your business. Do you say hello? Do you not? Do you start with the company name? Thanks for calling. You've reached this company. How people even answer the phone is something to consider when you're looking at implementing your brand, because it all sets the tone. So you want to put your best foot forward, make sure that it's matching with the messaging and tone that you've previously established. The final step here is to note that, as the company grows and the market evolves, your customer base evolves, you're going to want to adapt the brand to that. It's all well and good to set the brand in stone and go, yeah, this is going to be it for the next 100 years. But it's important to also recognize that, times change, things change, technology changes, the way people talk about what you do and how it impacts their lives or their businesses changes. And it's important to keep that in mind and know that, hey, we might have to stop every 10 years or so and take a look and go, do these core principles still work for us? So it's important to know that, again, it's something that you can start from, but it can grow with you as things move on. Coca-Cola has changed their logo a bunch of times, though generally subtly. Pepsi's a bit more exaggerated with it, but those are all steps to try to reach the desired market. and your business shouldn't be shy about potentially changing the branding to support that idea. Part two here is about aligning your brand with the company goals and customer needs. So understanding company goals and objectives that does need to apply to the brand. So the brand should reflect the overarching goals of your business. We want to make sure that the brand supports your strategic vision for the business short term and long term. Are you planning to go after some market expansion and reach into new areas, or are you planning product diversification in the near term, but looking to grow revenue targets significantly over the long term? You should keep these in mind when working on your brand and the marketing materials associated with it, because they do impact messaging and potentially even the visual language. Taking time to also identify and understand your customer needs is important too. If the brand can reflect the needs of the customers, they will identify you with a solution provider. So you want to identify and understand the pain points that your customers are feeling, so that you can reflect back as a solution. Market research, surveys, customer interviews are all ways to do it. There are some faster, easier ways to do it. Doing online surveys when somebody visits your website or through social media are a great way to get some ideas of what your customers care about. But if you want to get really deep with it, there are some services that DVIRC provides that help with voice of customer and that kind of deeper research to understand a market that can then come back and fuel not only branding, but also overarching marketing direction and potentially product and service direction. Integrating your brand messaging with business objectives, that gets into making sure that you are consistently communicating what you're doing for your customers and what goals you're trying to achieve that match your business objectives. This gets into more detail about how you're kind of writing things and communicating what you do, but developing those key messages that talk about what you're doing to address specific customer needs. If you are serving multiple target audiences, like Germantown or GTM Artisan Metal was, they're doing business signage, but they're also doing residential panels and decorative panels. How you talk about those varies slightly. You don't say exactly the same thing to both audiences. So you want to identify your target audiences and then create messaging that resonates for them. Haskell Education, we have a case study for. They're actually serving 3 different audience groups between, they make classroom furniture. So educators, they're also talking to design and architecture firms that would spec their furniture, and then dealers that actually go out and sell their furniture. So the overarching brand and direction is all generally the same, but those key messages vary to resonate with those different audiences. So it's something to keep in mind when you're building out your brand and documentation around it. Creating a cohesive brand strategy involves keeping an eye on all of your visual identity items all the way through customer interactions, like we mentioned before. So all the way from how you answer the phone all the way down to your business cards and all those things. So just keep an eye on those. Those are things that you want to keep aligned. They can drift over time as you maybe bring in a different design firm or things like that. Things get tweaked and start shifting. That's where usually after a couple of years, you start noticing, hey, our presentations don't look anything like our website anymore. And they're not even speaking the same language. They're not talking about our products the same way. It's important to keep an eye on those and kind of revisit them from time to time. That's that part, incorporating customer feedback. So this one is a little tough for most businesses to do, where you try to continue that kind of customer survey angle to make sure you understand what people are thinking about the brand so that you can adjust it and evolve it over time. It's a little challenging to do. Not every business has time for that, but if you can, it's important to keep that in mind. Even if it's anecdotal, just when you're meeting people and seeing their reaction to materials you're putting in front of them or how you're talking about solutions so that you can adjust the general brand approach based on that feedback. One thing that gets missed often is aligning your internal culture. So it's important for your team to buy into the brand, to feel a part of it, and to want to carry it through in their daily interactions with customers and other partners. So putting together the brand from an exterior perspective is one thing, but making sure that your team's on board. If you're going to change the brand, it's a good idea to have an all staff, all hands on deck meeting and discuss what you're doing, keep them informed, You don't want them to suddenly come in one day and there's an all new logo on the building. You don't want to freak them out on that level. You want to do your best to make sure that they're aware of what you're doing and the goals and messages that you want to put out there so that they can echo them. Every little interaction, like a brand is only as good as its weakest link generally. So you want to keep that in mind and keep everybody informed as much as you can, so that they don't feel blindsided by it and they feel a part of it. The more buy-in you get from a new brand or an updated brand, the better, because it'll just carry through in every interaction and reinforce the quality of that brand. Monitoring and measuring is important too. This generally falls more on overarching marketing, but understanding how well the brand aligns with the company goals through key performance indicators, using surveys and things like that, again, to understand brand awareness, how you're doing on that, customer satisfaction. Those are kind of big ticket items to understand from a marketing perspective. But it can get a little more specific there with lead generation and just seeing, well, how are we drawing in opportunity? Are we seeing an increase with this change? Do we need to pivot our messaging? Do we need to rework something in order to try to get people to raise their hand more and say that they're on board and interested in receiving services or products from us? So again, measurement on that, even on a quarterly basis, would be good, just to have an understanding of how the brand is impacting the company goals. And that's where the rubber really starts to meet the road here, where we start talking about how are we implementing these to support actual client communication. So communicating your brand effectively with clients and partners. Consistency is key. You want to try to make sure that everything is working together, as we mentioned, ensuring that clients and partners are receiving the same message no matter how they interact with you, whether it's on the website, through social media, through an email from a sales rep, or talking with the CEO. You want to try to keep the messaging tone and direction generally all on board in the same direction. As we discussed too, tailoring your message to different audiences is an important part of this. So depending on your different audiences, you're going to want to craft a message that highlights those different aspects of your brand, that speaks to them in a way that they understand and resonate with. So, a food production company may want to emphasize sustainability to their environmentally conscious clients while emphasizing scalability or operational excellence to supply chain partners. So picking those different messages and incorporating them into presentations and conversation is very good, a very good approach to help reinforce your brand. Making sure that your brand also showcases your unique value proposition is very important. Communication that sets your brand apart helps clients and partners understand, why they should choose to work with you over somebody else. Clearly articulating your value prop in that elevator pitch, short message, etc. All of those things are very important to carry through. So whatever the 1 minute takeaway that you want people to have should come across in your branding, should come across in your marketing messaging, whether that's about your quality, your innovation, your speed, your customer service. They should be able to pick that up pretty quickly. So making sure that that's looped into your brand approach is important. Storytelling, we mentioned before, again, highlighting your company's origins, your mission, value, any stories of successes or failures that you think can connect you to your audience, connect you to somebody. The storytelling aspect of this can be really powerful on a one-on-one level. Talking about past experience, case studies, testimonials, things like that can all be very helpful in sharing that story. Creating an emotional connection from a B2B perspective is a big ask of branding in general. Emotions tend to not get too deeply involved in the decision-making process for B2B stuff. That is way more consumer level. But the same principles do apply, but they can be tweaked to work on that corporate or brand company level for B2B. And leveraging visuals and verbal branding to reinforce your messaging. Again, logos and things being consistent, communicated effectively, included in all your materials. Making sure that everything looks good, high quality, professional. It's an important part of this. You also want to build trust through transparency and credibility. So transparency and openness in communication helps establish that trust, which is critical for long-term partnerships and client relationships. Be upfront about your processing, your pricing, delivery times, keeping clients and partners in the loop, let them know of any changes. A lot of those things are really good at reinforcing your brand. Like, just be open, let them know what's going on. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it is something that really does build the brand stronger than anything we've seen from a customer service perspective. Being solid on that front is a huge part in establishing a brand value of integrity and reliability. Align your communications with your brand mission value. Sorry, some of these are a little repetitive here, but um, using client partnerships and testimonials to build your brand. So case studies, testimonials, see if you can get quotes from people. Um, Sometimes in our world, we run into that situation where you can't say who you work with. You can't use their name, you can't use their logo. You don't want to give that information away. You don't want competitors to see it. That's where we use anonymization as much as we can. The story I always tell for that is that we worked with a company that put tracking software on servers to let you know who accessed a particular server and when and what they looked at. That company's software was being used to protect the formula for Coca-Cola, but they were not allowed to say that. So instead, in the marketing materials, we put a message similar to protecting America's favorite beverage with a picture of somebody drinking out of a Coke-shaped bottle with a red straw. We all know who that is, but we didn't say the name. We didn't put their logo on it. We didn't break any of the NDA requirements, really. Same thing, they were doing transaction recording for Home Depot. So we showed somebody in a home product store, a home improvement store, wearing an orange apron, behind a checkout. So you can use visuals and other methods to showcase some of the companies that you work with without necessarily giving away their full name or referencing anybody on their staff or even showing their logo if you can't. We tend to lean towards asking forgiveness rather than, begging for forgiveness rather than asking for permission on that kind of stuff. But that does depend on, your agreements. Clear and actionable communication is important from a brand perspective. So you just want people to understand what they can expect from you as much as they can. And also you want to let them know what you're expecting from them. So clear calls to action on your website and in your social media posts and on your marketing materials. Hey, give us a call to get started. Contact us today to get a quote. Using that kind of language and straightforward instruction on what you expect from them tends to improve conversion rates on websites, social media, email marketing. So you want to be really clear about that. And share that information as much as you can and try to build in those types of calls to action or clear next steps in all pieces, including sales proposals, marketing materials, and even in meetings. So what is the expected next step? And then adapt your communication based on feedback. We've talked about that a little bit. Again, you're going to get feedback from people over time. Try to adapt that into the marketing and messaging communication. So from a lead gen and sales perspective, brand recognition is important. You want to do your best to try to build that up because that helps support. Sorry, this is just a little fiddly here. A strong brand helps create recognition. So the more people remember you, remember your impact, what you stand for, it improves opportunities with lead gen. It makes you a known commodity, something people want to work with, a company people want to work with. Being consistent across all channels is important for that too. For example, a parts production company that is consistently recognized for quality can generate more inbound inquiries and leads from customers who associate their brand with those values. So making sure that you're including that information in your messaging is important and supports lead generation. A well-crafted brand helps manufacturers stand out in the market, making it easier to attract leads that align to your business goals and customer base. So a unique identity that emphasizes your strengths, it's important there to help with that too. Storytelling, again, this is where it works really well in lead gen to share case studies, testimonials, connect with people through the company history. Stories of even challenging projects can be a little more endearing than ones that always sound like they go off without a hitch. Showcasing that you can handle some challenging projects that, really tested your team's abilities can help create that minor emotional connection. Going, oh yeah, I had a project doing sideways like that, and yeah, we got through it too. I'm glad to hear you guys can do that kind of stuff. That gives me more confidence in you. So sharing those stories should be a priority as well. And ultimately, branding builds authority and thought leadership. So Getting all of those pieces together can position you as an invaluable resource and expert in your space, somebody that people will seek out for guidance and information to solve their problems. So creating branded content such as blog posts, white papers, webinars, again, like this, help position you as an authority in your space, and can be leveraged on your website, social media, and email marketing to help grow your reach and build your brand through those avenues as well. Consistent messaging also helps support sales conversations. So as long as there's no, you're presenting the same message to this target audience, once you start talking to them about, the sales process, trying to nurture them through a deal, that clear, consistent messaging across all touch points helps resonate that you have your act together. That's a big part of branding, is just showing, hey, we value our own brand. We're going to value yours and make sure that we do right by you. So those types of things are very useful in that regard. Branding can increase customer loyalty and repeat business. Once they get to know you, know what you stand for, they're going to come back. They're going to stay involved and engaged. Delivering on the promise of what your brand stands for is really important and helpful. It also helps generate word of mouth too, which mentioned here a little bit later. Social proof, again, testimonials, case studies, things like that are all very useful from a lead gen perspective across the board. So a lot of these tactics do kind of carry over from building your brand and getting it off the ground to helping with sales support to leveraging digital marketing for lead gen too. All of these messages, key messages for your different audiences, apply to these avenues as well, and help communicate the company's strengths and expertise, and can sometimes speed up negotiations just because they trust you. That you're a known entity based on the branding. So yeah, all of those are useful and helpful from a lead gen perspective. Those are kind of the key ones. Haskell, as we mentioned before, is an example where we have helped them create a new division. Their primary focus before the education side came in was office furniture. They decided to bring in a designer and develop their own line of classroom educational furniture that has some amazing features. Required them to create this other brand, this Haskell Education brand. We helped them with obviously updating their identity for this, developing a tagline for it, learn, think, do. That's generally how the philosophy is approached for their products. And we've worked with them to help increase sales over the past 5 years. It's actually, I think, 6 now. But yeah, we've been helping them grow year over year through improved marketing and lead gen services. Their website's a big part of that, with clear calls to action. We want them to sign up for our newsletter. Email marketing is a big component of what we do, reaching out to educators, architecture and designers, and dealers with different messages. So we even get them to self-identify when they're filling out the contact form here. The other materials that we've done include a full, at now this point, 138-page lookbook that covers examples of all of their products in use in different environments and all the different variations that are available, which is a very traditional print piece in the world of architecture and design firms. They love looking at these types of books. So we've been leveraging their brand in these to carry through consistent visual style, consistent messaging, consistent branding, even though we've been tailoring this book for different audiences over the past few months. So a couple more pages in there just to show what that looks like. Again, communicating all the clear information, but these all look very much a piece to the website, and all the messaging is very much in line overall. Part of what we've been doing with their brand is expanding it to include online resources and online tools that, again, match the look and feel, match the messaging, and match the goal, which is helping people with educational products to help make improve classroom outcomes is generally how we say it. So we've added in this quick ship ability for products that are in stock and ready to go right now, and it's now available on their website to purchase. Even though they are manufacturer, they can actually facilitate some of these types of sales directly when they have in stock items. We've also developed cut sheets, spreadsheet, or spec sheets, a bunch of resources around their products that, again, are all within that brand style and messaging approach, and have even translated all of their cut sheets now into Spanish for a growing audience in that language base, and included those on the website and as resources for their sales team. So internationalization is something where the stronger your brand is in the US, the better you can leverage it in other markets or other countries. So you want to keep that in mind too. That's a part of it. Email marketing, as we mentioned, how we're using the brand here. We love the word transform. That's in two of them, but those were to two different audiences, so it's okay. But yeah, introducing our sales team via email marketing is also a way to help build the brand and share primary contacts, let people know, oh, here's who you should talk to. And also, if you're interested, take a look at the lookbook or download this brochure we've done, or take a look at these particular products. So giving them, again, clear calls to action and information to review in these materials. So when it comes to digital marketing efforts, you're going to be really surprised here, but a lot of these things carry over, that you want to be consistent with your messaging. You want to optimize your website for the brand experience. So since the website is one of the first places people look to understand who you are, your brand, what you offer, you want to make sure that that is a strong user experience, has clear, useful information in it, and is a resource for them. That your 24/7 salesperson should have a nice, clear call to action on it. If you can include easy to use short contact forms. Not everybody needs the little chat person in the bottom right corner, but you can put a form down there that just asks for basically name, email address, and message. Anything to lower the barrier to communication, we recommend, because we see improvement in performance and more lead opportunities from that. So for an example here, you want to communicate what you stand for in there. So in a food production company example, you're going to want to emphasize their commitment to sustainability with eco-friendly practices, certifications, and customer success stories along those lines. So again, that information is very useful on the website. Make it as easy to use as possible. Revisit your website content at minimum on a yearly basis. Just make sure that it's still accurate and conveying what you want about the brand, but also your services or products. That information can drift over time to the point where the site is suddenly unusable because it's completely inaccurate. So a regular check-in on that is very, very recommended. Social media can also be used to amplify your brand voice. This is the platform you get to control what audience you engage with in real time, sharing absolutely fantastic information about the brand personality, how you work, how you like to work, who you want to work with. Uses the social media to share content that reflects that. Can be videos, it can be photos, it can just be text. It doesn't have to be the most polished thing on earth for social media. So behind the scenes, look at productions or customer testimonials or other useful insights. You can do them just with your phone. You don't need, high-end equipment to do that. In fact, in a lot of spaces, and particularly in B2B, that informal look is refreshing. A lot of business-to-business communication is very polished. So adding in this personal approach is something that can reinforce your brand value and put it out there in social media and get a lot of attention. LinkedIn is a great place for sharing thought leadership along those lines. But LinkedIn's getting noisier and noisier. People are using it more like Facebook than they previously did. So they're either looking for a job or sharing a cookie recipe, which might not be on target for you. So it's important to have a LinkedIn property and make sure that you claim your page on pretty much every social media platform. But LinkedIn in particular, from a B2B perspective, a potential prospect will check LinkedIn to see if you are who you say you are and see if your sales team is connected to the page. So I would recommend that you do connect those up and inspire your team to use that. Branded content like blogs, videos, webinars, infographics, other materials like that can be used to help generate leads through digital marketing as well. Email marketing is a big part of this. That's direct personal communication. You can personalize the message, tailor it to their industry. A lot of email marketing tools have the ability to take a section of the content and change it depending on the characteristics of the list you're sending to. So if you have a list for customers and another list for partners or supply chain partners, you can tailor those messages in a single email and send it out once. And depending on who it gets sent to, it would swap out that information. So anything you can do to kind of customize that language that you're sending out to reflect the goals of your target audience, the better. email marketing is a fantastic way to build your brand. That direct communication is significant. Paid ads are another way to leverage your brand using Google ads or Bing ads, as well as ads on social media to reach new leads. These need to reflect your brand, have your identity on them, have the right messaging on them in order to stake your claim, present your brand properly, and resonate with that potential audience. Video content, as we mentioned, some behind the scenes stuff is really good, but a video is a good way to show your brand's expertise and personality. If you're making any form of capital equipment or there's any sort of significant process in what you do, videos of that process are very valuable to include on your website and in your social media and email marketing. A picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000 pictures. Showcasing how anything in your process works or how your equipment works answers so many questions and typically inspires deeper conversation once somebody raises their hand and becomes a lead because they've seen it in action. Everybody would love to give plant tours. Everybody would love to give demos, but you just can't constantly do that and run around the country doing that. So video is a great way to cover that base and include really good content on your website and on your social media. Incorporating your brand into SEO, the big takeaway on that is making sure that your brand messaging is reflected in your website, because that's where SEO is going to pick that all up. Your page titles, so when you're looking at that little tab in Chrome or in your web browser, it says the company name or it's home-company name. You want to make sure your company name, and if there's room, potentially your phone number in that. That information is picked up and turned into the title of the link in Google search results. So having that properly formatted where it communicates what's on the page, the company name, and potentially contact information makes that SEO listing significantly more valuable. So there's a lot of checkboxes as SEO and content strategy are an entire conversation unto themselves. But yeah, integrating branded keywords, making sure that you own your brand name in search is important. Properly tagging your website will do that and give you that foothold on that. Sometimes if there's a competing name or a similar name out there, you might need advertising to do that, to own that territory. But brand campaigns are usually some of the cheaper ones out there. We consider them air cover to make sure that anybody searching for your name sees you and finds you. Those are recommended if you have competition for your brand name. Engaging your audience with your brand's tone. So any interactions with potential leads through social media, email, need to reflect that brand voice. So make sure you carry that through as well. And then tracking the performance of these can tell you things about how your brand efforts are going. So click-through rates for social media or email marketing, website visits, form completions, things like that. If you see those decrease, it might be time to take a look at the brand, see if there's anything we need to update there from a messaging perspective, a visual perspective, or kind of any of these other previous elements we've covered in this section for digital marketing. Might need to be addressed if you start to see those dropping consistently. There's seasonality in all of those stats, but if you start to see things be way off, this August was way lower than last August, and we're seeing September's not being that strong either now that the month's almost over, it might be time to look at some of your branding and marketing to help move that needle back up and position it for the next year in a good place. Vibration Specialty is an example of a company where we didn't create a new division for them. This was the primary identity for the business. This identity was updated based off of the original version that they had that had been evolving since 1918. So this is the latest iteration of that logo. And we introduced a variation on this identity that we use often because they go by their acronym pretty consistently. So we made another version of the identity to support that and use in marketing materials, particularly social media. So reinforcing who they are, what they do. This waveform actually represents the vibrations that they monitor in equipment. If you notice in the shadow, there is a crossbar across the last one, an A for the initial of the founder of the company. And then since 1918, again, to reinforce that they're a company with longevity, their original form of the company was actually founded to support Ford Motor Company when they were developing the first series of automobiles and make sure that they weren't going to vibrate apart as you started them up. So a lot of history with this company, but also very forward-looking and are using a lot of advanced tools to collect data. And we want to make sure that the branding and messaging reflects that. So the visual style of it is very much tied into the direction they want to go. This kind of clean, simplified color palette is a big part of that as well. Just kind of focus your attention on other aspects of this, and then a clear call to action, even on the homepage here, that to get started, just get in touch with us. That's where you've got to go. That's where it's all got to start. And we've carried that into tailored landing pages to support their online advertising campaigns. So the brand is being reflected here, the waveform, the visuals of it, the messaging of it, that kind of bold text style, all being carried through so that it feels, again, very much a part of the overarching brand, reflects where they want to go and their forward-looking approach. So yeah, that's kind of how that stuff starts to hit the road a little bit. We've carried that into other pieces too that are outside digital, print pieces, brochure here in this example as well, overviewing their on-site low-speed balancing services. So all of these feel of a piece and reinforces that they are who they say they are, that they can accomplish what they claim, and that they've got great experience in it. So that's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I was trying not to put the fire hose on you guys, but it's a lot. But some of the key takeaways here, if there's going to be things I would recommend you should remember, branding is essential for differentiation. A strong brand can help your business stand out in the crowd, making it easier to find clients and partners. Creating a brand identity is a strategic process. You need to include the company's core values in that thought, understanding your customer base and target audience, ensuring consistency, and building a brand that fits the business goals and strengths. Branding drives business growth. This is useful, for lead generation, sales efforts, building long-term customer loyalty, but also from a mergers and acquisitions perspective, like we mentioned earlier, having a strong brand can help drive that. We actually had that happen very specifically with a IT company that we helped move their branding to a whole new level, improved pretty much every touch point from their marketing perspective, and they got acquired within 6 months of that, and actively stated that was the reason. It made them more visible, made them more of an interesting company to acquire, which was part of their goal. Digital marketing amplifies your brands, gives you opportunity to get in front of new people and share that brand through your website, social media, email, etc., helping you get into a wider audience and stay top of mind for potential leads. And then consistent messaging is key to success. So you want to try to keep it as consistent you can with your brand identity and what you stand for. When stuff looks all different, it breaks that trust on a very small level. But it does break that trust. So we want to try to avoid that as much as we can. So there we go. That's our presentation on branding. Like I said, there's a ton more to this. The original presentation I built was probably 3 times longer than this, with a lot more detail on each step and each part of this. So if anybody's interested in that, just let me know, and I'm happy to send that over to you. Are there any questions that anyone would like answered? Feel free to put it in the chat and let me know. If not, I appreciate your time and thank you for attending. I hope this was valuable for you and you found some interesting stuff in it. And I'm happy to answer any questions via email after the fact for anybody. Thank you, Chad. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. What is the biggest mistake brands make when trying to connect to their audience? There's a lot that could potentially be wrong there. I mean, really, the messaging was really important in that instance. If you're saying the wrong thing or pushing the wrong aspect of your business, they're just going to disconnect from it. So you do want to make sure you understand your audience as much as you can with any sort of surveys, any sort of questions. Try to just go, okay, we know we're talking to this audience. Here's what we want to say, and find out if it's actually resonating when you have those conversations with people or through surveys. But yeah, I would say a messaging disconnect is the big one. Getting to your website and not seeing the brand that they recognize or what they think it's going to be is also really challenging. So if your online advertising or social media puts you in one light and the website is out of date and puts you in a completely different one, that's that disconnect, and that's really that's where they won't contact you then because they feel like it was a bait and switch. So yeah, anything you do on larger platforms like social media should really be carried over into your website and other materials just to reinforce that you are who you say you are. Any suggestions on maintaining brand control when selling through is happening via distributors or third-party resellers? Big part of that is give them as many resources as you can. We've done that a lot with Haskell Education. They work with dealers that are selling through for them, put together a ton of cut sheets, image downloads, resource sections, stuff, videos they can download, giving them as many branded tools that harken back to Haskell as much as possible because they're not going to take the time to scrub your brand off of it. They're just going to use it. So giving them as many educational resources as possible, we have found to be quite valuable. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate everyone's time. Again, thank you so much for attending. And like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free to email